Greetings, everyone! Welcome to the Mega Man issue 49 review. This is the last series to have an issue before it enters the Worlds Unite crossover. So what's this story about? Well, we just finished the Mega Man 3 adaptation. One of the subplots during the arc is Mega Man preserving the IC chips of his enemies, so they'll later be rebuilt for a better purpose. Also, we have the appearance of Mr.X'S forces at the end, with Mr. X himself taking great interest in Dr. Wily. Let's see where these plot threads are going. We begin with a robot activation sequence from the robot's point of view. Based on the 8-bit icon, it's Quickman. The first thing he sees is Mega Man, and he immediately attacks him. However, something's off. Mega Man explains that Quickman's weapon systems were disabled just in case Wily's programming wasn't fully purged. Woodman restrained Quickman, and Quickman's surprised that he's been restored as well. Not only is Woodman back online, this 2-pager reveals all of the Series 2 and 3 Robot Masters are functional again. As I stated earlier, Mega Man made it a point to preserve the IC chips. Then it was just a matter of repairing the bodies. Mega Man apologizes for the damage, and Quickman points out that they are enemies. Both Dr. Light and Roll explain that robots are neither good or bad, that it's the programming that determines their behavior, and they hope to reprogram the robots to benefit humanity, which Quickman's not comfortable with. Quickman then asks why is Mega Man armored up. It's just in case the Light family hasn't successfully disarmed Wily's weaponizations, which leads to Mega Man revealing that Wily died during their last battle. Meanwhile, at the remains of Wily Castle 3, Agents Stern and Krantz are trying to get past the gate guarded by Mr.X'S mooks. The liaison, Madam Y, states that this island is privately owned by the X Corporation and that they're doing their own inventory on the building's contents. Krantz stops Stern from going too far. Madam Y states that they'll be more willing to cooperate if the police were to confront Light Labs about 8 pieces of confiscated property. Gee, I wonder what those are. Krantz in her own way blows off this request and the agents leave. On the boat, we learn that Agent Stern has a history with these corporate armies and that the two should keep a lid on it for now. At another location, Dr. Wily wakes up and the mysterious Mr. X introduces himself. Mr. X wants to have some words and demands Wily accompany him, either by crutches or forced into a wheelchair. So Wily chooses the crutches and wonders about the tingling feelings in his arm and his leg. It's due to the X Foundation's marvelous medical technology. And Mr. X has a robotic eye? Dr. Wily asks, what does Mr. X have in store for him? The answer? Mr. X wants him to try to take over the world. Insert Pinky in the Brain joke here. Oh, and High Gamma remains. Mr. X shares his history, that in his youth he tried to stop the robot menace by fighting it. But he's seen the future and humanity has embraced the robotics and it's led to disaster. He wants Dr. Wily to continue his work so that the world will know how dangerous robots are. Mr. X leads Dr. Wily to a room filled with robotic parts, telling him that he needs to get back to work. Back at Light Labs, some robot masters are told what they could use their skills for. Bubble Man could work as an ecosystems manager. Airman decides to go to the meteorological array for reconstruction and forecasting. And Flashman considers going to the Kronos Institute to upstage Time Man. Dr. Light explains to Hardman and Snakeman their proper functions since, well, he did co-design them. Mega Man's so happy that things are working out. That is until Quickman speaks his mind. He was built to fight and destroy, not to deliver mail. And he's not happy with the idea of being reprogrammed, prompting Mega Man to remember his own brainwashing experience during the Mega Man 2 arc. Quickman's not alone, as some of the other robots doubt that they would have any practical use. For their own reasons, of course. Dr. Light explains that their reconstruction came with a price. If they can't serve a practical use, then by law, they will be decommissioned. Quickman agrees to be turned off, stating that there's more dignity in that than with practical work. When Quickman asks Shadow Man what he'll do, surprisingly, Shadow Man says he'll stick around. Mega Man's upset at this prospect, and Roll tries to comfort him, stating that they'll preserve him with a robot museum or something. With their minds made up, Dr. Light shuts down Quickman and the other robot masters with the same mentality. And Rock learns a hard lesson that day. You can't save everyone, and not everyone wants to be saved. Back with Dr. Wily and Mr. X, Wily's ready to get to work. And in typical Wily fashion, he plans to use the organization and take it for himself when ready. Anyway, Mr. X states that he has an assignment for Dr. Wily. So what is it? Build more robot masters, kidnap a rival scientist's daughter, and what the heck is appearing behind Wily? And no! No way! No, 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 no! 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 No, 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 no! That shadowy figure is, Sigma? Is that you, Sigma? And he's grabbing Dr. Wily, and Dr. Wily's in a panic. What? Might as well talk about this ending here. We have this series lead in to the Worlds Unite crossover. Sigma shows up thanks to this Genesis portal and kidnaps Dr. Wily. You know, this reminds me of that one scene in the Mega Man cartoon in which Vile and Spark Mantle appear in front of Wily thanks to a time portal. The episode's called Mega-X, by the way. I wonder what's worse for Wily, having Vile's shoulder cannon pointed at his face, or Wily being dragged away by Sigma to who knows where. Either way, he's probably wetting himself. Let's dabble more into Mr. X and his organization here. So yeah, Mr. X is a real person, and he is working with Sigma, I'm guessing? I'm not sure. Anyway, Mr. X drafting Dr. Wily into his services does remind me of the plot of Mega Man 6, that Mr. X was Wily's boss. That is, before we know his true nature in the game. Speaking of true nature, I've heard some rumors that the Mr. X in the comic is actually a future Xander Payne of the Emerald Spears. And there's enough evidence to support it. First, the reveal that Mr. X has a robotic left eye. Guess who else has a robotic left eye? Second, the ultimate goal for Mr. X is to stop robotics, which is also the ultimate goal for Xander Payne. Not to mention Mr. X's backstory sounds awfully familiar. Plus, there's this line here about seeing the future. If Mr. X is Xander Payne, then Xander did travel to the future of Mega Man X. And in that game series, things went straight down the toilet for society thanks to the Maverick Wars. There is another clue that many people might not catch. Let me help you. Here's a picture of Xander Payne. Please take a good look at his eyebrows, folks. Now let me show you a picture of Mr. X. Take a good look at his eyebrows, folks. Look pretty identical, don't they? If Mr. X is Xander Payne from the future, then at some point he would have gotten access to time travel technology again and would have successfully gone into the past this time. That reminds me of something. The first meeting of Dr. Wily and Mr. X was foreshadowed in issue 38 during Xander Payne's journey into the future. And on a brief tangent, the reason I didn't mention Gamma being the second time stop from issue 20 was because, from what I've heard, story plans for the comic have changed. And so I won't be pointing out the time stops anymore. Back to Mr. X possibly being Xander Payne. I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. X created the X Foundation solely to back Wily. As for the organization itself, we haven't seen what they could really do. But, based on Agent Stern's comments, they could be very dangerous. Moving on to the other main focus of the story, repurposing the Series 2 and Series 3 Robot Masters. Thanks to Madam Y's comments, we learned that Light Labs recovered the Series 2 bodies from Wily Castle 3. For the Series 3 group, their bodies were probably still at the battle sites from the Mega Man 3 arc. It was then just a matter of salvaging them and making the repairs. The resurrection of the Wily bots came at a price. Either get reprogrammed to be practical members of society, or get decommissioned. Some of them were up for the chance to make a fresh start. Others, however, would rather go offline permanently. Quickman was the most vocal of the decommissioning group. In fact, it was because of him speaking out that some of the others joined his position. Let's look at the title for the story, Prisoners of War. That's essentially what the Series 2 and 3 units are. Sometimes, when enemy forces are captured, they're given the choice to either join their captors, or be imprisoned, or executed. When you get down to it, this is exactly what's happening here. Quickman made a valid point on why he wants to shut down. If he can't serve his intended function, namely fighting and destroying, what's the point of existing? You could also say it's one final screw you to Mega Man. Quickman could handle Mega Man as depicted in the Mega Man 2 arc. Once Mega Man got the right advantage, Quickman was defeated. He knew that Mega Man could defeat him again if certain conditions were met. By taking the decommissioning route, he's achieved a measure of victory against the Blue Bomber. who worked so hard to preserve the IC chips so that all the robots could have a better future. Plus, there's the fact that Quickman's weapons were also disabled. But you don't need a physical weapon to attack someone emotionally. Mega Man learns a harsh lesson about life in this issue. This lesson could apply to you and me, that we can't always get what we want. It's how we deal with such events that are important. If there's a bright side to this, the seeds were planted for the possibility of a robot museum, like the one seen in Mega Man 7. So, the decommissioned Robot Masters could come back if someone like Dr.Wily were to steal them. Issue 49 brings Ryan Jambull back to the Mega Man series. The last time he did work on this book was back in issue 28. And his style has changed a bit since then. There's more of a chibi style going on. You can definitely tell with Mega Man here. I'm giving the story a 9. It shows real consequences involving the Series 2 and 3 Robot Masters, ultimately turning Mega Man's victory bittersweet. Plus that ending with Wily and Sigma. The next issue is not only part 4 of the Worlds Unite crossover, but the 50th issue. Based on the solicitations, it's a special double issue that features the meeting of Mega Man and X. The main story itself will continue in issue 53. Until next time, have a good day and be safe.